Hey guys, it's Captain Forrest here, back with a death battle prediction. I've got some friends on the channel, of course. JobberGodot. I've got my boy Korin. Y'all introduce yourselves.
What is up, everyone? Korin back on the channel, back with another collab death battle prediction.
What's up, everybody? It's your lawyer, JobberGodot, coming in here. Very thankful to be on here for this death battle prediction for Dio versus Alucard. Of course, I'll be repping Dio in this.
Alright, and we got Scum.
What's up, everybody? It's Scum here. Today I'll be repping Alucard. I'm really excited for this matchup.
Perfect. Okay, now that everyone is introduced, I'm gonna go ahead, start off. Now, I'm gonna have my buddy Jobber. He's gonna talk about Dio. He's gonna give some insight on Dio, and then Scum can talk about Alucard, of course, and then Korin can give his thoughts, and I can give my thoughts afterwards on who we think wins more often than not. So I'm gonna go and leave it to Jobber.
All right, so for Dio Brando, now I'm pretty sure they're going to be using Part 3 Dio, hopefully. So I'm mainly just going to be talking about like that Dio, maybe bring up some feats from Part 1. So from Part 1, what we've got, at least for travel speed, because I'm pretty sure it doesn't really change much throughout the series, is that Dio was stated to be like faster than the cheetah, so that would just put him at superhuman travel speed. Now, for hacks, right? Well, actually, no, we're going to talk about just simple scaling, right? So for his stand, right, when it comes to the world, it's city level plus. There's a lot of things that consistently put that stand to city level plus because it scales to star platinum. There's a lot of city level calcs that put star platinum up there, and just stands that star platinum scales above that have city level feats or small city level. And for like the capability, that stands consistently a small building level because, well, it still scales to star platinum's like previous feats. Like, for example, star platinum like destroying part of a school building, or him destroying like a large like rock during the sun fight. Those were all calced as like small building level. And for travel speed, reaction time, like in combat speed, right? All that's just massively faster than plus. Once again, scaling to star platinum, which goes above silver chariot that cut a beam of light, consistently calced around over 1,200 times the speed of light. Durability for Dio is also city level plus because he tanks hits from star platinum, even though his like he can be hurt by anything, but that's like the most he's ever tanked was just a lot of hits from star platinum. Now, for specifically for just Dio himself, in terms of like just strength without his stand, he should still scale to himself from Part 1, which is just city block level or just city block level, because there's a lot of calcs that Dio just like has, where, for example, all the vampire feats from Part 1, Dio scales above because he's the strongest one. There's many statements, and a lot of those feats just go from city block to multi-city block level. You can even just say probably even small town level Dio if you want to. I probably wouldn't. For discharge capability for Dio himself, small building level, there's calcs that put him on that level, and also him above just vampires in general. Now, finally, for hacks, Dio has a time stop, which is universal plus in terms of potency. He has Hermit Purple, which can see faraway visions, and it's very helpful if the opponent's hiding. He has Hypnotism, Fear Hacks, like a low degree of low godly regeneration, like a vampire, like / zombie essence. So if like it gets in you, then you're going to turn to like a vampire or zombie under his control. Even a degree of fate manipulation. He can flash freeze you if you have like any body heat in you. Has flesh buds to control you, and like type 1 and 3 immortality. That's a lot of the things that Dio has. And also another thing a person brought up to me, which is a very good point, is that, well, Dio has like godlike charisma, because in this fight he could also like just persuade Alucard, just like, hey, let's not fight. Or if Alucard gets his army up or something, his army of, I don't know, like vampires, I'm not sure about him, I don't know too much, but I heard he has his own army. Dio could probably just talk to his army and convince them to be on his side or some weird stuff like that. So that's another thing to consider. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it for Dio that I have, and that is all.
Awesome. Now Scum can go ahead and explain Alucard for us.
Okay, so first off, to start with the scaling, Alucard at the very most would be city block. scaling above, like come up with his telekinesis that he used against the Dandy Man. He'd also have scaling above, like he'd also be able to completely one-shot characters like Saris, the captain, who performed in casual small building level feat. His highest speed feats would be a massively hypersonic plus feat, which is able to react to Whip Van Winkle's bullets, which was able to be counted at speed. Now, release level 1, which is just like higher anticipation numbers. We don't know how much of a multiplier it is, so it's just unquantified above that feat, because that feat was performed by like a base Alucard. And you would also have scouts like characters like Anderson, Saris, etc. You have like multiple small building level feats from those characters, right? But at the very most, Alucard would just massively scale the level. That's really it for like Alucard's main scaling, since hellsing is like a very small series. So like we would have to move on hacks now. So like for hacks, he has soul and blood absorption. But the thing is with his soul and blood absorption, it just works at the same time, because in hellsing, when you're absorbing someone's soul, you're absorbing someone's blood at the same time. It's just like spiritually linked to one another. This is something consistently stated in the verse. He would also have all types of immortality, excluding type 9. If we're excluding post-Schrödinger, then maybe type 9, but not really. You'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all types of immortality, just not anything type 9. He'd also have some low godly to high godly regen with post-Schrödinger if they are going to include that, but I don't think they really are. He also has mid-high regen negation, which he was able to perform against Anderson's regeneration, which has that level of regeneration, which he was able to use against Anderson in the final fight. One of the many final fights in Hellsing before using Monster Anderson. His resistances aren't very that much. He would just have a resistance to history erasure, soul absorption, blood absorption, soul erasure. What was it? Yeah, high godly regen negation, because that's because Schrödinger, and like one of the final fights in Hellsing, Schrödinger was able to use that against Alucard. Alucard was able to resist it. The thing is with Schrödinger's erasure is that it's completely conceptual. And this is something consistently supported in the verse by Schrödinger, who is the literal conceptual embodiment of Schrödinger's cat in the verse itself. So like, if they're using post-Schrödinger, you can argue that, yeah, maybe Dio just won't kill him at all. But he has some other minor things if they aren't him. He would also have enhanced senses, able to see up to 1 kilometer away. He would have resistance to illusion creation, able to completely neg illusions casually, which is third eye. He would also have like this basic mind control, just like average look at you and then you're just under the mind control. He'd also be able to make physical manifestations in battle. Like how that can be used against Dio is that he would just make Dio fight the physical manifestation, and just Dio would think he's fighting the real Alucard, but in reality he's not. So you could say he could just use that as his advantage, to like get the drop on Dio and just shoot him in the head. But that's my thoughts on it. I do think Alucard could win if they're using anything like video game Dio. Then yeah, I could say that Dio could just completely neg. But I could argue. I do think if they're using like part 3 to part 1, I think Alucard wins.
Okie doke. Perfect. Now, I'm going to go ahead. I'll give my thoughts on this, and then I'll pass the mic over to Korin O'Keefe, and he can give his thoughts. So, this is a pretty interesting matchup on paper. Vampires, of course. The theme is pretty cool. Halloween is just around the corner. So, looking at things, looking at the stats, Dio has the speed advantage, of course. Definitely. In part 3, I imagine Death Battle is using part 3 Dio, crazy speed scaling. The world would be very useful as well, being able to stop time, so Dio could get strikes in, of course, and try and donut Alucard. I just think like a lot of like Alucard's like resistances, a lot of his immortalities would keep him in the fight. It's just how I see it from my interpretation. I just think like if it comes down to like war of attrition, especially like with Dio's weakness, if the sun is out, of course, his vampire weakness, they can't be in like direct sunlight, otherwise they get vaporized. I think if Dio can't put down Alucard, I just think it's a wrap. I think the sun would just pretty much take care of business. I think the stamina would be a massive issue. Plus, Another thing I wanted to mention as well, like, because I have watched hellsing. I'm not like super knowledgeable because I used to only watch it just for entertainment. I know like Alucard has like this one, I think it's like a demonic dog, but like if that like consumes or like
Yeah,
tags,
Baskerville.
yeah, if that tags like Dio, it's GG. It's like Dio's getting consumed. Like there's nothing. I don't think Dio would be able to get out of that. But like, I definitely think like the stand abilities would help a lot. You know, with the stopping time, he'd definitely be able to get strikes in. And X, Y, and Z, you know, he might try and absorb, Alucard's blood and stuff. But I just think like that wouldn't be enough again with the immortalities, and plus like I believe like I don't know how many souls Alucard has, but he has like a shit ton, like just loads and loads of like souls inside of him. So it'd be a lot. But overall, I just think like like in terms of like war of attrition, I just think like Alucard would just outlast. The immortalities are just too much. I don't think there's like a solid way Dio could take him out, but like that's just my thoughts at least. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give the mic to Korin and he can give his thoughts.
Sure. Thanks, Forrest. So, yeah, this is a really interesting match. On one hand, I would say Dio likely edges out definitely in terms of like speed and AP. I've seen higher calcs for him. That being said, that doesn't inherently guarantee a victory, higher speed and AP. As Scum mentioned, Alucard has a lot of ways, like hacksy ways to stay in the game. Multiple types of immortality. Now I don't know how to, I don't know how Death Battle is going to go about it. They have mentioned immortalities before and implemented it into their series, so to speak. So that's a little up in the air though right now for me. But again, that is something that can definitely help him stay in the game, regardless of the stat difference to a pretty decent degree, because the stat difference isn't like an infinite difference or a dimensional gap, for example. Like they're still both in these finite, city block ranges, building level ranges, but Dio does scale higher into it from what I've seen. But Dio also has his own crazy hacks. He has the time stop, which he will definitely use, and that could definitely be very helpful. The blood absorption, the draining. Alucard, though, also has other hacks that could potentially be a big issue, like what Forrest brought up about getting consumed, and also some stuff that Scum brought up. And we also have the freezing from Dio and everything else that Jobber brought up as well. So for me, this is a tad bit tricky. I can definitely see arguments being made for either one. And at the end of the day, I really can't speak for how Death Battle themselves will go about dealing with the immortality stuff, Dio's abilities, how they compare with each other. That's kind of up in the air still to a decent degree on that end. We do know what these characters can do. And with that being said, let's just say if Alucard's like type 8 and the other immortalities, they do get completely and entirely implemented in this episode to the fullest extent, then I don't necessarily see Dio being able to like take the Death Battle victory in that way. Unless it takes, unless there's like time, like, I don't know, like Scum, does it take time for him to revive or anything like that? Or what's like the catch to some of his can you say?
Alucard's regeneration is not like that slow. It literally just takes him like a few seconds and he's just back up onto his feet and just ready to fight. Okay. It's not like some slow regeneration. So yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, then if it's like that, then the type 8 could be a really big factor and keep him in the game. Because like the Death Battle rule, it's like, yeah, a death is a death. However, if he's not able to completely out-tax the immortality, then again, like Alucard also has ways, like certain hacks that could potentially be a big threat to Dio that he may not be able to get around. So again, like last Death Battle, I kind of went 50-50. So in this one, I may have to go for myself. at least from a death battle standpoint, because again, I would have to go 50-50 on this, but it's pretty blatant. Dio does have the statistic advantages over Alucard, at least in terms of like normal stuff, like physical shit, right? So, and the time hacks yet again is a big issue. So I can, for me, if I were to like argue it, I could see myself arguing on Dio's side more often than not, but I can definitely see Alucard having arguments to win. But for Death Battle, I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to go 50-50. I just hope both characters get justice. I'm actually looking forward to this matchup. So anyone else want to give their final closing thoughts?
Yeah, I'll give my final closing thoughts on who I think wins like the battle. For me, like it usually just depends. Like it just depends, right? So if it's like Dio versus Alucard with the time limit of the sun coming up, I think Alucard literally can just survive long enough. Like, because I know he has souls, right? Like, I think you have to keep punching him or something. Wait, Scum, is that correct, right? Like,
Yeah,
when it
and
comes
then
to
like
souls, you have to
also
keep
one
killing
more
him.
thing, he can't die if he's in the sun. Like he's not like a normal vampire. He can't die.
Yeah. So like, if the sun comes up, Alucard wins, right? But like, if it's like Dio versus Alucard without any time limit, right? It's like like whoever drops. I think Dio will be able to just beat the souls out of him because the main reason why is because of just mainly the speed difference, like the speed difference, and also just the time hacks. Yeah, speed difference, time hacks, and also just the intelligence of Dio. I just don't think that like Alucard will be able to implement his hacks into play because Dio is just not going to touch him. Like I don't think it will at all. Dio has just so many options just to get out of the way or just being like faster. But like also I think I heard in the death battle that they're giving like they're trying to give Alucard like an out of character like power up that will remove his regeneration. Like Scum, do you know anything about that? Like
No, I don't know what they mean by that.
I forgot. Like there's this like form he gets like one time in hellsing. That's what I've heard about. Like he doesn't have like regeneration anymore or something, or he just
Oh,
becomes
that's probably
like
release
stronger.
level
I'm not
0.
sure.
No, in
Yeah.
all of his forms, he has regeneration. But release level 1 just has the bullshit, just like dog shit regeneration compared to his other forms.
Okay. Yeah, because if that's the case, even then, right, I think Dio wins that one. But if it's, I don't think they're going to put this type of Alucard in that fight. But if they ever put Schrodinger's cat Alucard against Dio, Alucard stomp. I'll proudly admit that. I mean, I don't know what Dio's going to do against Schrodinger's cat Alucard, but yeah, I just think that in this fight, Dio would take it more often than not. Mainly because of the speed difference, hacks, and just his intelligence. It's just not going to look too good for Alucard. Yeah, that's my final thoughts.
Awesome. Okie doke. I'm pretty content with everyone's thoughts and opinions, and obviously who they think wins. Depending on obviously what death battle use, you know, it's literally just it's touch and go. If they don't implement some of the amps like the forms like Alucard has, then Dio could just take victory. I don't know if they'll even use like I think it's Eyes of Heaven, like where where the Jojo character's just like insanely powerful. But yeah, great video. Thank you guys for watching. I'm happy to have all these guys on the channel. Also, make sure you check out my boy Korin O'Keefe's channel. Check out Jobbers. They all make awesome content. I don't know if Scum has a channel, but if he does, make sure you sub to him. He makes awesome content, I think. But yeah, I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. Peace.